Welcome to the Gardening Tutor channel. Today we're going to talk about digging for lack of a better phrase, a proper planting hole. When it says make the hole 2 to 3 times as wide as your plant, it's really talking about disturbing the soil 2 to 3 times out, and I'm going to show you how to do that. But this 1 gallon plant is about 6 inches wide, and so 2 times would be 12 inches, and a really nice disturbed soil would be 18 inches, so about this wide. Usually people think that means dig out all of that soil and put it aside, but I'm going to show you how to disturb the soil 2 to 3 times as wide as the plant, and then plant the plant. First, I'm going to show you how most people plant plants, and I used to too. When you know better, you do better. They dig a hole the same size as their plant, and then take the plant out and just stick it in the hole. And then the plant either doesn't thrive, or 2 to 3 years later is the exact same size as it was when you first planted it. That's because the roots are going around and around, just like they started to in the pot. So let me show you. Now, ideally, you would not work with dry soil. It's not great for the soil structure, but one way to help yourself if you have time is you can buy plants, place them in your garden on the soil, and then start watering them where they're placed. And then in a few days or a week, when you go to dig the holes, it's moist but not soggy right underneath where you're going to do your planting hole. So this is what people usually do. And this soil happens to be pretty good soil, but some soil is hard as rock, especially in the summer. And then they pop the plant out, and they just stick it in the hole. They just stick it down in the planting hole and cover it up, and then wonder why your plant isn't thriving. Before I show you how to disturb the soil 2 to 3 times as wide, this soil is friable, meaning it holds together, but I can break it apart. So this is some pretty good soil. So down here on the side where I've used my shovel, it looks pretty good. It's pretty porous. Little roots could probably get through there okay. But in some soil, especially more clay soil, the back of the shovel actually closes off the sides of the hole. And the same thing happens with the post hole digger. So if you just use a post hole digger or a shovel and make a 1 gallon size hole, the little roots can't get through because the back of the shovel has closed it off. So you can use a trowel, or you can use anything to just, do you see the difference there? Now the roots would be able to get through there a lot better. But let me show you what's even make your plant even happier, is to actually use a flat tine fork like this to go in and lift up. I'm not removing all the soil. I'm just going to go in and lift up, and go in and pull back gently, kind of lift that up. Do you see that down there in the front? How it's lifting up the soil? That's creating some space in there for the little roots. So I do this all the way around. Ooh, this is nice soil here. Usually working in clay soil. So it's better to work with moist, not mud though, but moistened soil than totally dry soil. See how I go around in circles with my foot on this flat tine fork, and then lift up. Don't force your fork, because you actually can break it. So you just go in far enough where you can gently pull back. So see how we've disturbed all that soil. See, I put it in and twist a little, put it in and twist a little. Anything you need to do to get those little baby roots in there. And in this case, we're going to add a little compost in the bottom of the soil, and I'll come back in a sec. I'm going to dig in some of this compost. For this Gaillardia plant, it would like a yummy composty hole. But if you're planting long-lived trees or shrubs, you don't need to put that much amendment in it, the compost, because you want the tree or shrub roots to really grow in the native soil. And sometimes if you make too yummy a planting hole for a tree or long-lived shrub, the roots will just stay. It's called teacupping. And they just stay in the yummy little teacup, and then years later your tree falls over because the roots never went out into the native soil. Now we can take this up, and I'm going to disturb these roots a little bit. This is pretty good. These aren't very, this plant hasn't been in this container that long. And then face your plant, best side forward. And then usually I'd put some water in the hole and then cover it up. And then I usually, with open fingers, instead of my heel, I don't want to compress what I just disturbed, but I do want to close some of the air pores there. I would do this all the way around, and then water it, and then put some nice compost, 2 to 3 inch layer here, and then when it's close to the stem, it's not 2 or 3 inches, it's just a ½ inch or so. And that's how you plant that plant. So we've learned how to plant a 1 gallon and disturb the soil 2 to 3 times as wide. The same is true for 5 gallon, 15 gallon, and even trees. Same process. But now we're going to move over and show you how to prepare a planting area for 4-inch and 6-packs that you're going to plant in groups. Here's our planting area, this whole area right here, where we're going to plant some, we're going to prepare the soil for 4-inch plants. So instead of doing individual holes that are 2 to 3 times as wide as the plant, we're going to prepare the entire area. Some of you'll need to use a shovel to start anyway, if the soil isn't as friable as this soil is here, nice and yummy. But I think I can get away with just using my fork in here. Let's see how it goes. And always check to make sure you don't have irrigation lines, because this fork will go right through irrigation lines. And you have some other problem to take care of when you just wanted to plant your plants. So see how I lift it up and then I turn it. This is such a great tool. Okay, and just keep on going in the whole area that you want to plant your plants. 4-inch plants and 6-pack plants really like, in general, really like yummy soil with compost in it, good draining, easy to spread their roots. So you could put a little more compost into this soil than you did into the whole of the 1 gallon or bigger plants. Okay, worked with the fork. I'm going to put a little compost in it. Actually, kind of a lot. You can watch my video on compost, mulch versus compost. That's a good video, so you can understand the difference. And see how it's kind of like an egg beater type of situation. And this is called amending. You're amending the soil with compost. Once you've prepared the soil, you'll be able to dig your holes easily and put your 6-pack or 4-inch plants in here. Now, please don't plant these in the plastic containers. You're going to pop them out just like you did the 1 gallon. And if the roots need to be moved a little bit, so you can open them up. And sometimes you have just enough root. You don't need to do that. You could just pop it out, plant it. So in it goes. This is a great tool. It's the OXO plow. I love this. But sometimes, and a lot of time actually, I'm using my military shovel. It's a short-handed shovel. And that is great. Really makes quick work of all this. So then you'll Cover these up. Do your open-fingered snuggling them in and watering them, and then go ahead and compost. Usually with 4-inch and 6-packs, I do about 1 inch, maybe 2, but usually about 1 inch of compost all around. That should get you started anyway. You can always email me if you have any more questions. And thanks for visiting us today on the Gardening Tutor channel. If you like our videos, go ahead and subscribe and then you won't miss any. Here's an extra tip for people who really love to use a post hole digger, or they have to use a post hole digger because the ground is so hard to work. So if you use the post hole digger and you dig your initial hole, then just like what I did with the fork in the other holes where I disturbed the soil 2 to 3 times as wide, you are probably going to need to use a pry bar, this big heavy 5-foot or so piece of metal, to put it in and lift up all the way around. Give that plant the best start you can. Instead of putting it in a kind of a prison hole, you're going to just disturb the soil so the roots can get out there. There's more tools on my tool video. Thank you for watching. See you next time.